Hey friends, sorry for all the background noise, but I really wanted to come to you from outside today. We are getting ready to have our first freeze watch tonight, and so I need to get my houseplants that have been living outside for the summer ready to come back inside because most of them really do not like the cold. So I'm going to show you what I do to get my houseplants ready to bring inside for overwintering. Let's get into it. So, my name is Elise. Welcome to Liseybelle Laine. This is the space where I am bringing you along while I make, learn, and grow. Today we're focusing mostly on the growing part in terms of growing houseplants. So, our main goal for getting the plants ready to bring inside is checking for pests and then washing off what we can in terms of extra dirt and pests. So, I like to wash the pots with soapy water and let that sit for a minute so that it kills off any bugs that are on at least the exterior of the pot. There's not a lot I can do about bugs that are in the soil, but I can do my best to get the pots clean at least, which reduces the number of bugs that we're bringing back into the house. I do not expect this to be perfect in terms of killing all pests. That's just the downside of having plants outside, is you're going to have that risk of bringing some extra bugs indoors when you bring your plants back inside. But our goal is to reduce that as much as possible so that we're not fighting extra unnecessary bugs. So what I like to use for this is the Dr. Bronner's soap. I like this because it is Castile soap, which means that it's a lot stronger than the regular soaps that we use around the house. And more concentrated. So I will dilute this in some water and then take rags and just like wipe down the pots and inspect the pots to make sure there's not any like big eggy situations. And then after that, I will use the hose to sort of not power wash, but like spray off the soap on the pots, remove any extra dirt. And then for the plants that can handle it, I will spray down their leaves as well to try to remove any bugs on that. And then I will leave them to dry as much as possible in the sun before I bring them inside later this afternoon. So let's get started. It's beautiful weather today. The high is like 62 or something. So it's a little chilly here in the shade, but I think in the sun I'm going to be quite warm getting all of this done. So I'm excited. Sorry again about the car noise. I live on a very busy street and there's only so much I can do about that. All right, I was right. It's nice and warm in the sun. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of the soap in this bowl. Just a squirt. I'm not measuring. And then I'm using the garden hose to dilute it. So, nice bowl of soapy water. The soap kind of has a yellowy tint to it, so it looks kind of gross, but it's fine. And then I'm gonna get started. I'm probably gonna get pretty wet doing this today, but what can we do about that? Absolutely nothing. So. Just using the rag. to show you on this jade plant some of what I'm talking about in terms of removing pests or looking for signs of pests. So there were a couple of spots right here. Can you see that webbing? And then again over here and here, all of this is covered in webs. See all that clumpy stuff stuck to the bottom of the plant. So for this plant, I think it can handle having the soap on it, so I am going to give it a little bit more thorough of a bath to try to get rid of some of this webby stuff before I bring it inside. And I'm going to rinse all of this soapy stuff off before it comes in as well. I don't want to leave soap on its leaves. And all the plants are going to get their leaves sprayed down today. They're just not all getting the soapy treatment. going to change out my water because there was a lot on that plant and I want to make sure it's nice and clean for the other plants. I did lose some leaves while I was doing that because I wasn't being super careful, but I would rather lose some leaves than bring a whole bunch of spiders into my house. So I'm going to start with a new rag as well. And I'm going to go ahead and spray down the first batch of plants so that they can be drying. I think I lost some washing footage due to storage issues, which hopefully are resolved now, but it just quit recording and didn't tell me. So I've washed this one some, but before I rinsed it, it's really not stable in its pot. Like, it keeps falling over, and the root ball is like pretty small and high up in the pot. So Ideally, I think I would transplant it into a bigger pot. It's not the best time of year for that. It's better to do that in the spring. And I don't have any extra potting soil right now. So I'm going to attempt to just reseed it in this pot more securely so that we can hopefully make it through the winter, and then see about getting it into a bigger pot with fresh soil in the spring. I tend to repot like once every 2 years for most of my plants, and I repotted last spring, so I didn't this spring, so I should next spring is kind of the schedule we're on. So my plan is to try to preserve as much of the soil that's in there right now as possible. I've got this bamboo stake. I love the color of this. It's like a red, really fun. And then I'm gonna show you here. This is all we've got for a root ball for this whole plant, so it's not very secure in the pot. I'm gonna dump carefully. I'm gonna just lay her down. Oh, okay. And then I just dumped that all over my lap. Okay. So I'm leaving a decent layer. Oh, here's the bottom of the bamboo that apparently rotted off. That explains part of it. So I've got a couple inches still in the bottom of the pot because I don't want it right up against the drainage hole, but I'm going to bury it quite a bit deeper than it was before. So now when I put this in, you can see there's quite a bit of exposed stalk, and I'm going to re-layer in all of this soil, hopefully in a way that's going to support the plant a little bit better. It's just so top heavy at this point. But I think this is going to be better. I think we're going to be good. It's already feeling better. So I'm just putting all of the dirt back in. Usually I wouldn't pack so tight on a potted plant, but I want this to be secure, so. Ooh. There we go. Feel better about that. And then I'm gonna slip that back in. That's feeling a lot more secure now as well. I just have this attached to the stake with a twist tie, kind of loosely, so that it doesn't damage the plant. Look at that. Oh, so much nicer. I could not even carry it before without it falling over. And I wanted to pause and make sure I did this before I do the rinsing stage, because the soil will get really saturated then, and it was going to be a muddy mess to try to repot. And you should always, 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 always water anything you replant, because it helps the roots to get into contact with the soil. So even if it has rained and you're replanting something, you still need to water it in. It's just like a necessary part of the planting process. So I wanted to just make sure that I did that all in one step. Since it's gonna get sprayed down anyway, it'll get watered then. So that's my plan for this one. I'm gonna keep washing plants. We're getting to some of the bigger ones, and I'm definitely finding more evidence of spiders, and I did get out an earwig, so that was good. I know I'm not gonna get it all. I'm just trying to minimize the potential risk. It's starting to get kind of hot in the back of my neck too. It's a nice day, but the sun is powerful. So I accidentally dumped this pot out, and so the plant came out in pieces. And I'm just going to take this opportunity to separate it into separate plants, because I've got some empty pots that I can use. I really, this time of year, should be like consolidating and not repotting, but as I've mentioned, I'm out of potting soil, so I don't actually have enough to just like refill this pot since I dumped all of its dirt on the ground. So I'm recycling dirt, which you shouldn't do, but I'm doing it anyway. And recycling pots. And maybe I'll give some of them as gifts. Like, that's a cute little fella. So I guess I now have more pots to wash as well. But I'm gonna go track down some more pots and see what I can do. Found this rectangular planter with a very leggy succulent in it, and I'm thinking they might do better in something like this. Guys, I was not planning to do repotting today. This was not what I wanted, but I'm just using this to loosen up the soil. It's super dry, so I definitely was having a storage issue with my phone, and I lost the rest of the footage for what I did that day when I was bringing my plants inside for the winter. So what I did with the rest of the time was I finished repotting up that succulent that I had dumped on the ground, and then tackled some of the bigger pots. Like, I've got this absolutely massive aloe, and it took a really long time to work through that one, and I also had to wait until I had some help because it was too heavy for me to move on my own. Once I got that all done, I moved all the plants inside. Many of the ones that came indoors are here on this shelf behind me. It stays empty for a lot of the year when the plants are outside, and then gets nice and cozy during the fall and winter. You can see the little one I had repotted there. And there are a few that I like. This one is the super leggy succulent, and I'll probably cut it and try to propagate it, but I just have not been bothered. It's been a couple weeks now since I brought the plants in, and it is very chilly and misty outside today, so I'm all cuddled up inside, and I can see for like our tomato plants and things that stayed outside, the frost has come. The frost has killed them, so I'm glad that I brought these in when I did. So far, no massive or even notable issues with bugs or spiders or anything like that. Maybe some gnats, but that happens even when I'm not bringing plants from the outdoors inside. So yeah, I feel like that was a successful project. I was surprised that I was able to get through as much of it as I did. I think I felt for the first hour or so, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going so fast. This is going so smooth. I'm getting all of these inside. This is going to be over in no time. And then like 4.5 hours later, I was like, oh, I have died. Now my body is done. So I definitely pushed myself past where I should have that day. But the freeze was coming at night, and I didn't really feel like I had a choice. I felt like I needed to get it done. So it's done. They're inside. They're safe. And I finally am feeling up to recording this conclusion to that video because I wasn't able to do it that day that I brought the plants inside. So I am very grateful if you have joined me for this whole saga. I'm curious, do you keep any of your plants outside for any of the year? Do you have ideas about how to make the transition to bringing them inside any smoother, or any questions about why I did things the way I did, or what I could do differently? I'd love to hear if you could comment below. And I will be back with regular knitty content or fibery content next week. All right. Bye for now.